everybody, and welcome back to Blanche Case Fitness. It's Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's time for Perpetual Motion, the class where we never stop moving. And let me tell you, after several days worth of me complaining about the lack of snow on stream last week, the blizzard did finally deliver, and oh boy, to the point where a branch of the tree in my backyard broke off, which is very sad. Thankfully, only one. But yeah, it was wild. You know, Colorado is a very dry state. And even in wintertime, even when it's snowing, it's usually very dry, very light, fluffy snow. And this was East Coast snow. If any of you have experience with that, I know at least some of you do. So it was just very heavy and wet. It was kind of like trying to move through cement when you were walking through it. Which is miserable. I realized that I am not actually crazy about East Coast snow, but yeah, we got several feet down here, I think, and some of my friends up in the mountains got just so much. They couldn't accurately measure how much they got because the wind was also so ridiculously strong that some of the places by their house were completely bare, and some of them had like 6-foot snow drifts around them. So it was wild. It was a wild Sunday. And it's supposed to be pretty cold for the rest of the week and potentially snowing again. I think I saw a little snow earlier, so who knows? But yes, the blizzard finally left the dispensary and went, oh, that's right, I'm supposed to be dropping record amounts of snow on the state. My bad, let's go. So yes, a very adventurous Sunday, but I figured you'd all be happy to know, since I was complaining so much about lack of snow last week, Friday and Saturday. Oh my God. Hello everybody, welcome to another week. I hope that it has started off well for you. It is, we're still marching through March. Obviously, Saturday was a weird class. It was an anniversary, a COVID lockdown anniversary. So now we have officially been in this for a full year, which is wild, and not in a good way. It's, we are still here a year later, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. There are more and more people getting vaccinated, which is really exciting, but please do not take that as a reason to start behaving as if everything is fixed and everything is fine. I know you won't, but it's just one of those terrifying things that we're seeing, like on a state level too, in many places, where they're like, oh, well, vaccinations are happening and rates are going down, so now is the time to just open everything up, right? It's that mentality that we've seen over and over again. This sort of like, okay, well, we've put out 50% of the house fire, so it's totally safe for everybody to go back inside, right? And we'll take care of the rest of that while you're in there. Which is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous in that analogy, and it's ridiculous here with regards to our COVID response. So yeah, it is going to be more important than ever to continue to take precautions. And it's going to feel weird. The next few months are going to be really weird, because now we're going to start having divides between people who have been able to be vaccinated and who, once the full immunity kicks in, can experience at least a little bit more freedom of movement, and those of us who have to wait for our vaccines, which is many of us. So that's going to be really weird and kind of hard to navigate. So be kind to yourself if you're worrying about that on either side of the equation. Be kind to each other. I saw something that sort of stuck with me online the other day that was like, at the beginning of the pandemic, we were sort of all in this together, but now we're going to be sort of exiting this experience alone, Like we're all leaving the experience and moving through the end steps at such different times. And that can feel really isolating, even more than the isolation that we've already experienced, not being able to see and hug our friends and loved ones over the last year. So yeah, it's approaching, but we're not out of the woods yet. And I think it's important to remind ourselves to be gentle with ourselves, and to remember that everything is sort of going back into a very topsy-turvy place where we don't quite know what the expectations are. We don't quite know what the safest thing to do is. And, you know, we all remember those periods, particularly from the beginning of the pandemic. And it's sort of back now, right? So yes, be kind to yourselves, take care of yourselves, and you know, we're gonna get each other through. We are gonna get each other through, absolutely. But in the meantime, it's cold outside. My feet are cold, which means it's time to exercise. So, hi, if you are new to the channel, welcome to Perpetual Motion. This is the class where we never stop moving. My other tagline for it is the half marathon of HIIT classes. So it's a little different from most of the other classes I teach on this channel, where for most of those classes, when you get to the end of a workout timer and the final horn goes, you get to stop, stand around, chill while you drink your water. For today's class, whenever we get to the end of a workout timer and the final horn goes off, we will immediately move into our active rest exercise, which is cross jacks, which is an exercise I will demonstrate when it becomes relevant. So from the point that we begin our warm-up to the very end of class, we do not stop moving. Just like a half marathon. Well, potentially. Well, hopefully. Stamina and sustainability is the name of the game today. So if this is your first class, be aware of that. Make sure that your water is put somewhere where you can easily reach it from a standing position, because we're not going to want to be trying to reach down to something that's on the floor. You want to have something in easy reach, and be prepared to be moving the whole time, and be prepared to figure out how that impacts your energy output, and the amount of power and intensity you're able to put into different exercises when you also have the underlying expectation that you're going to keep moving the whole time. All right? I believe in you. It's going to be great. But let's do our pre-class checklist. So we've got our water, whatever vessel we're using. I have long since transitioned over to giant mason jar of doom, which looks enormous, and it is enormous, but also I just have very small hands, so that helps it look real big. I like to take a sip at the beginning just to see how dehydrated I might be. Oh, doing pretty well today. Usually my rule of thumb is if I take a sip of water and then immediately try to drink like half of the thing, I haven't done a great job of drinking water today. So, not a bad approach. Although hopefully you're drinking water more consistently so you don't get to that point. So we've got our water, we've got our comfy clothes on, whatever that means to you. We've got our mat size space on the floor. And if you use a fitness wearable, now's the time to turn it on to high intensity interval training. So we'll get those going, and let's get ourselves going. Woo, 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 woo. Oh man. All right. One big yawn, because you know what? It's the end of the workday and I'm tired. And let's do our warm-up. All right. Huzzah. It is, in fact, the same warm-up that we do at the beginning of every class, which is awesome because it makes it a lot easier to know what's happening. So, everybody, let me just make sure, yes, the speaker's on. Everybody on your mats, on your backs, 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee, and as soon as you hear that horn go off, we will begin with hip rocks and bridges. Alrighty. Hey! Hiya! Oh man. Woo! Yeah, I definitely have a little bit of residual, not even necessarily soreness, but just awareness that last week I really ramped up my own personal challenge writing for class. And I talked about that a lot and how exciting that felt to, demonstrate to myself that I have the capacity to go for a lot more intensity and power than I had been necessarily allowing myself previously. But I am also glad that I had a couple of days to rest and to let my body recuperate. And so now I can come into this week and try it again and see where we go. So if you are feeling that as well, believe me, I understand. Oh man. Oh yeah, last night was a nice cozy evening watching one half of The Mummy, which is a movie I absolutely love, but didn't realize how long it is. It's one of those things where suddenly it was 11 and the movie was only halfway through. So I was like, okay, maybe maybe I turn this off and watch the rest of it another time. But oh my God, if you're looking for just a really charming, cheesy adventure film, in the vein of Indiana Jones, The Mummy is just an excellent one. And it's a movie that I avoided for a long time because I don't do zombies, and there were sort of zombie-looking things in the trailers, and I don't do horror, and for some reason I had it in my head that this was a horror film. And, it's entirely possible that it would have been more of a horror film experience watching it when it came out in 1999. Let's just say watching it in 2021, even if you don't like, scary imagery, you will be fine on this one. There are a few things that still pack a punch, but as long as you have someone with you who can point them out when they're coming, you're gonna be fine. Oh my goodness. But it's such a delightful film, and Brendan Fraser is charming as hell. He is an actor who I really respect, and he had a lot of struggles through the industry. One of the few males in the industry who has experienced my career got turned upside down / practically destroyed because somebody sexually assaulted me, and nobody wanted to hear about it when I tried to tell them. And that does not happen to many men as far as we know in the industry, and it is of course obviously possible that it happens to more than we realize, and they just never achieved the degree of power that he had, and thus don't have the opportunity to necessarily build back from that. But yeah, he really, you hate to see it, and it's been nice to see him in more things in the last few years, and to feel like he's getting to make a bit of a comeback. But he is an excellent actor. He's just, like I said, charming as hell. And he's got that perfect mix of like cockiness that's 90% earned and 10% ridiculous in a fun way when it's not earned. And he goes really beautifully between, action hero and supportive romantic lead. It's delightful. Everyone in that cast is delightful. I see a lot of like Tumblr posts going around on the internet just talking about how much people love that movie, and you know what, I'll go to bat for it too. So if you have not watched The Mummy, and no, I am not talking about the Tom Cruise Russell Crowe movie, but the original one, well, not the original one, the 1999 one. If you've not watched it yet, I highly recommend putting that on your list. If you have a fun, like, cheesy / bad movie night with people, it's an excellent film for that. So, yes. There we go. Blanche's movie recommendation for the week. It seems like I always have one when we start class out, doesn't it? Oh my goodness. But it's, you know, it is one of the easiest ways to connect to one another right now, is at the very least watching the same thing that others have watched and then trying to talk about it. Golly. What a year. Oh man. It's, you know, and it's a time, this whole year, and particularly this month, and I've talked a lot about being kind to ourselves, and I stand by that. You know, I definitely have struggled with not necessarily getting things off the ground as quickly as I wanted to. I have struggled with motivation. I've struggled with just, you know, grief and anxiety getting in the way and sort of preventing me from being able to push forward on certain projects. And, you know, that can feel really demoralizing. And even this past week, you know, I intended yesterday to kick off the Instagram stories sort of channeling tags for people, so that throughout the day we could get tags to like do 10 push-ups or do 10 toe squats or, you know, stuff like that. And I put up an initial story and was like, hey, we're gonna do this. And then realized that I couldn't do a hyperlapse video in Instagram itself. I had to get another app, and by the time I got the other app, I had to go take care of something else, and then by the time that was done, you know, it was just a lot of things sort of came up all at once. And so I had just this one happy little message yesterday being like, hey, we're starting this today, and then no follow-up. And that feels really crappy, you know? That feels really crappy when that happens. So I've got the app that I need now, and I'm gonna figure out how to use it, and then we're gonna do take 2, and we're gonna give it another go, because you know what? Just because we weren't immediately perfect at something does not mean that it's not worth continuing to try. And that is just so important to remember, particularly for those of us who were high achievers in, you know, school environments and continually focusing in on you know, being perfect. And we talk about that a lot here. Obviously, you can tell that I'm a recovering, if it's not perfect, it's not worth doing person. And I'm sure that many of you are too, because it's a line that we're fed. It's an expectation that is drilled into us. And, you know, it just does so much damage to everybody involved to have this expectation of, you know, if at first you don't succeed, you're trash and you should never try anything ever again. And it's like, well, how is that useful for anyone? But it's, you know, it's a message we absorb. It's a message that we get from parents, from teachers, from regulatory agencies, you know, setting up testing structures, and, you know, this attitude that if you mess the thing up, then you've just failed, and that's all there is to it. And, you know, we make things so burdensome, and then blame people or judge people for not getting them right first try. And it's like, how does that help any of us to learn? None of us get things right on the first try. And I can't think of anything more damaging or less useful than training ourselves to think that that is supposed to be something we can achieve. Instead, we should be fostering environments where people can, you know, fail safely, and then identify, okay, what are the things that I need to improve, or what are the additional tools and support that I need to receive, and, you know, learn more along those lines than along, you take this one test and if you fail it, that's it, you've ruined the rest of your life. You know, and it's harmful on all ends of it, because some people are terrible test takers and they get completely screwed over by a system that is obsessed with, you know, finding these objective standards for improvement, and they get screwed over by the system that way. Some people are really good at taking tests, and because they can, you know, bullshit their way through that primary metric of educational assessment, they're not taught how to be bad at things, how to fail at things, and then try again. And so when they get out beyond school and they encounter situations where they fail or are not immediately good at something, they have no idea what to do with that. They have no idea what to do with that experience, with that information. And, you know, a lot of people give up on a lot of stuff because they're too scared to be like, all right, what does this mean? What do I need to investigate? What do I need to get better at? What help do I need to ask for? We are so bad at asking for help. Oh my goodness. We're over here thinking that we just have to be able to do every single thing by ourselves and no help from anyone. Help is totally unnecessary and unacceptable to ask for. My God, I do not know a more toxic attitude than that. Well, that's not true. There are plenty of super toxic attitudes out there, but that's one of them that we don't look into enough. We don't acknowledge enough. And it's really, really sad to look at and to think about all of the people who are out there throwing themselves through life and just desperately trying to ignore their need for help. Like, how hard is that? How hard is that? So hopefully I talk about this enough that that people can start to feel more comfortable asking for help. And I know how hard that is. You know, I am not over here saying that that's an easy ask, particularly in our culture, but it is such an important skill, and more of us need to work harder on it. All right, end of the warm-up. So as soon as that timer goes off again, I will demonstrate cross jacks. And if you already know how to do them, you should just immediately start doing your cross jacks. And I will stop moving because teacher privilege, but you should keep on going even when I stop. So cross jacks are a cousin to the jumping jack. Jump your feet out and hands out. Jump them in, one foot cross to the other, one hand on top of the other, out and reverse. And we just do that. A couple of modifications. If you feel more comfortable, you can kick the feet forward while doing the arms, or you can just do this, all right? It is an active rest. And both of those terms are very important, okay? Because you want to be still moving. You do not want to stop moving. But you also want to be able to use these exercises as an opportunity to bring your heart rate down, to bring your breathing down, and just practice what we are always practicing in our other classes, just with an added layer of challenge on top, all right? Oh, okay. Woo! Nice. Don't forget to drink water either, all right? It's gonna be hard. You're gonna be bouncing up and down a lot, but that's okay. All right. We are going to start with a perpetual motion set, 30-second work intervals. We're gonna have 3 exercises, and we're gonna go through them 3 times each, okay? So, 2 of them are just gonna be side 1 and side 2 of side planks, okay? So from the elbow, we want that shoulder straight over the elbow, so we've got a nice perpendicular line between the upper arm and the floor, legs extended, and lifting our hips up, other arm lifting straight up towards the ceiling, and just holding there until the horn goes, and we go to the other side, all right? And then 3rd exercise is going to be tick-tocks. So balancing on your tailbone, arms straight, hands together to one side of the knees. Extend outward only so far as you have to move the arms across, then pull back up using the lower abdominals, okay? So those are our 3 exercises. Side plank, first side plank, second side, and tick-tocks. So everybody is cross-jacking. So as soon as you hear that horn, you are gonna have to scramble down and start the exercise. There we go. So when we talk about starting on time in a perpetual motion set or class, one of the big things is minimizing the amount of time that it takes to move from one exercise to the other, okay? So we do not want that horn to go and to just take our sweet time moving over, trying to like sneak a little bit of rest in there, okay? We want to be nice and honest with ourselves and to really move as quickly as we can
from one exercise to the next so that we're not missing out on movement time, okay? And in service to that, I want you to keep in mind that I am not always moving the most efficiently because I have an added criteria of needing to make sure that I'm facing the camera correctly. So don't just imitate what I'm doing if it looks a little awkward and like it doesn't really make sense, okay? You can figure out what is the fastest way for you to get from one exercise to the other. And if it is different than what I'm doing, that is totally fine, okay? And in fact, encouraged. All right, so we're in our second set, and we want to be checking in and making sure that our form is still just as strong in the second set as it was in the first set, all right? So we want the shoulder pushing up from the ground. This arm extended up can really help that. It can feel like you've got a thread attached to your hips and attached to your fingers, and they're just pulling up towards the ceiling, right? When we come here to do our TikToks, making sure that the elbows are straight, that we're extending out far enough that we don't need to either bend at the elbows or lift the arms entirely over the knees in order to get them from side to side, right? So every time that we move into the next exercise, we check in on form, all right? It's not just something that we do at the very beginning of the set and go, all right, cool, that's that. We want to be doing those checks every single time because we want good form to be the foundation of everything that we're doing. Everything that we do starts with our form. That is the strong base that helps us to minimize the potential for injury and helps us to improve our performance. Once we have that foundation, we can figure out what we can add on, what intensity we can add to the exercises, all right? So it all starts with that form. And so every time we start the exercise, we are going to check in on that form. And we are going to say, all right, how is that feeling? Feels good. Hopefully. Or it feels exhausting. All right, back up to standing and back to your cross jacks. Woo! Ow. Got some weird soreness in my hip today. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that, as we all should keep an eye on any weird, unexpected points of pain whenever you're doing class. All that stuff I was saying about keep going the whole time, remember, there's always an automatic caveat that says if you are feeling pain or discomfort, and if your body goes, ooh, that's a potential injury signifier, I think, feel free to stop, modify, do something else, okay? I trust you, you know your body, make sure to listen to it. All right. Let's do another set. So, this one is also going to start with side 1 and side 2. Actually, no, that was potentially a lie. So, first thing we're going to do is lunges to the hand or elbow. So we're gonna take one leg back, very similar to the Samson stretch. And then we're gonna do one of three things. Either hand down to the floor and hold there, or hand down and then elbow down, or bypass hand entirely and go right down to that elbow. Then we push up to standing and other side. And we go back and forth that way. Alrighty? Yeah. Exercise 2 is going to be just push-ups. As always, you can do wall incline off of furniture. You can do a straight up plank push-up, or from the knees. You can do half plank, half wave, or a full wave like we did in the warm-up. The 2 major form notes: shoulders directly over wrists, and keeping your elbows in by your sides rather than letting them fan out, okay? And then third exercise is going to be squat with a knee raise. So we're gonna take our feet around shoulder width apart, squat down, up onto one foot, lifting the opposite knee, then down and switch, okay? So lunge to the hand or elbow, then push-ups, then squats with a knee raise. Those are our exercises. Let's get going. Same timer as before. So as soon as you hear it, we are off. And for this exercise, the lunges, we really want to make sure that we're not trying to put our back foot directly behind our front foot, okay? It should be going back basically in a parallel track, because otherwise you are not going to be able to maintain your balance particularly well, alrighty? And then right down into our push-ups. Remember, whatever form of push-ups you feel comfortable with and you feel comfortable maintaining is exactly what I want you to do, okay? There is no need to be like, well, there's only one type of push-up that is worth doing, and if I can't do that, then I shouldn't even bother. Again, that is a lot of perfect is the enemy of good talk, and it's also sort of, it's an attitude that's been fostered by a lot of unhealthy teaching practices in physical education and a lot of toxic cultural touch points, you know? I can think of so many instances in, particularly in like 90s teen movies, which obviously, you know, is a genre that I am particularly familiar with, given my generation. But I just remember so frequently seeing these, you know, and they were always relatively brief moments, just enough to show you that from a cultural perspective, you were supposed to automatically understand how weak and silly doing, say, push-ups from the knees was, and how it meant that you were failing, or meant that you were a girl in that super bullshit pejorative way. It frustrates the hell out of me, because push-ups are awesome, and you know what? Whatever way you can, losing my balance, maintain The push-ups is the way you should do them. And they are going to give you an awesome, awesome arm workout, okay? Regardless of whether you're doing them off of the wall or doing them off of a piece of furniture or doing those knee push-ups like I'm doing, or whatever else you choose to do. Always remember that they are an awesome exercise in all of their forms, okay? And no matter what, you are crushing it. Woo! Yeah. All right. Last time for our squats with the knee raise. Obviously, there's a balance component, so we want to make sure that our core is engaged as a stabilizer to help us keep that balance. Alrighty? Oh, checking in on that form, making sure that it's still good. Back to cross jacks. Yeah, back to cross jacks. Woohoo! Give yourself a good cheer, my friends. Oh, yeah, we're feeling good. We're feeling good. What a great way to kick off our week, huh? Oh yeah. Okay. Hey, I'm liking the structure. Let's keep going with it. So, let's figure out some new exercises to challenge ourselves with. Oh, okay. We're gonna do some ankle reaches, get some nice core work going here. So, on your back, legs extended up towards the ceiling. I want you to contract those abdominals. That's what lifts your shoulders off the ground. One hand to the outside of the opposite elbow, and back and forth, etc., etc. Second exercise is going to be held front superhero. So we haven't done that in a while. We do the pulse version more frequently. So legs extended back, arms extended forward. Lift, arms, legs, chest off the ground, and we just hold it. All right? If you need to add a little movement in, you can bend your arms at the elbows and extend them behind, then bend at the elbows and extend them in front. And you can just add that little bit of movement into the exercise, okay? And then third, I'm just gonna have you do some jumping jacks. So a bigger version than the warm-ups. I'm still gonna keep my elbows relatively bent because it helps my shoulder to decrease the amount of range of motion for an exercise like this. But if you don't have shoulder issues, then you can keep your arms straight and meeting up above the head and down by the sides. And nice bigger jumps. You'll know how to do jumping jacks. I trust you. All right, so ankle reaches, held front superhero, and then some nice jumping jacks. Alrighty. Everybody is cross-jacking away. Again, we will have to scramble down to a different plane to get our ankle reaches started. Okay, and you want to make sure that you are checking in that those abdominal muscles are the ones that are actually doing the work, all right? So we're not pulling ourselves forward with our arms. We are contracting our abs, and that is what keeps us going. All right. And then here, this is a held position, so I want you to really make sure that you're still breathing, okay? I love adding a little bit of arm movement in here. I find that to be extremely helpful for just maintaining the position and keeping just a little bit of movement in it. Alrighty. Almost forgot what the next exercise was, but I got there. And you know what? That happens to the best of us. So if you've been having those sort of brain fart moments, don't worry about it. You know, I'm here to push and to challenge. And so frequently, I'll sort of stick with that mode of communication. But I will always, always be the first one to remind you that even someone who has been doing this class for the better part of 5 years at this point, either as a student or as a teacher, we all have those brain fart moments, and it is totally okay. You know, a lot of what I talk to y'all about in these classes, a lot of the things that we want to work on, you know, we talk about form and how important it is, and it is really important to have that be a foundation that we focus on building. But again, it is totally unrealistic to assume that we will ever be able to maintain 100% perfect form all the time, okay? That's just not a realistic standard. So the goal is it's not so much I have to be able to maintain this all the time. It's more that I want to get better at noticing more quickly and being able to adjust back to the form more quickly, okay? So it's not that we're perfect all the time. It's that we notice, you know, that, oh, I think I lost a little bit of the form there. So I'm just gonna adjust my abdominal engagement or adjust my leg positioning and get myself back into position, okay? And that's the important thing. Again, perfect is the enemy of good, okay? So we are not here to hold ourselves to perfection as a standard. We are here to build towards sustainable growth, all right? We see the ways in which late-stage capitalism infects so many different areas of our lives. And one of them, all right, back to those cross-checks, my friends. Woo! One of them is in assuming that we're supposed to be able to just constantly improve and improve and improve at a super fast rate, you know, year over year, quarter over quarter, never stopping. And that's not how human bodies work, all right? We absolutely can improve performance, but we want to do it sustainably. We want to do it in a way that's healthy for us, that isn't going to traumatize us or cause injury or cause other illness manifestations. So yeah, here at Blanche Case Fitness, we're all about sustainable growth, my friends. Make sure you're drinking water. I know you're cross-jacking away, but you still have to drink some water. Okay. What's our next set? What is our next set, my friends? Okay. We're gonna do some turtle stands, because I like those. So, rocking up on the shoulders, up on the feet, and just stand. All right, we're not gonna do the more intensive ones, because obviously we wanna make sure we're keeping that stamina going the whole time. And then we're gonna let ourselves do some high knee runs. I think we can throw some high knee runs in here. So same as the Flaming Scarlets, but you can keep your arms at your sides, just jumping back and forth and trying to get those knees up above the crease in the hips if possible. If you're not there yet, then just as high as you can lift them, okay? And then third is gonna be a front plank from the elbows, held. So here we are, again, shoulders directly over elbows. So we have that nice perpendicular line, and we just chill, alrighty? So, yeah, turtle stands, then high knee runs, and then a front plank. All right, we are just blasting it through so much good stuff. I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. All right, so you're cross-jacking away. Get ready. As soon as you hear that timer, we are off. And remember, there are a couple of modifications that you are totally welcome to use. If you have trouble rolling up onto your feet, you can absolutely do a hand to help push you up, or you can bring one knee down and sort of roll up like that. Just keep in mind that that does slow down your momentum a bit, and that's something that you want to be aware of, okay? Because the turtle exercises are kind of all about momentum, and if you're doing something that's going to impact that, you need to be able to compensate through the rest of the exercise. Woo! All right, man, going directly from high knee runs into a front plank is a little bit more intense than I thought it was going to be. So if you're feeling that, well, don't worry, I am too. And we are going to get through it together. All right, second time through. Remember, exhaling on the effort can give us a really nice pop of energy, can help propel us to the high point of the exercise, whether that's a literal high point. Again, forgot what I was doing there. So do not forget to use your breath as a way to enhance your movement, okay? You're not going to get to see me demonstrate that as much because I have to be talking, so I'm not able to use my breath in the same way as a way to propel myself through the exercises. So you really need to remember that. All right. Another one of those things where I want you to do as I say, not as I do. And for our just making sure that you are still breathing and really making sure to get that oxygen moving through your body, okay? We want to make sure that those energy production systems always have everything that they need in order to keep us going, okay? So, that means breathing. That means learning how to breathe in a held position without throwing yourself off so much that you lose the form, okay? Because that's sort of what happens in our heads when we're like, okay, well, I'm not supposed to move, so I need to just hold everything, including my breath. And I get it, but you still need that oxygen. Your muscles are still working super hard here, and they need that oxygen to run those energy production systems. So always, always, always make sure that you're still breathing. Back to cross jacks. Yeah. Woo! What a class. What a class. Dang, friends. All right. How's everybody feeling? Hopefully drinking some water. Hopefully not flipping off your television right now. Look, you are doing so well. This is an intense class, and it can be a little deceptive. But you really need to be able to manage your energy output in a way that HIIT classes don't always ask of you, you know? HIIT classes tend to be about really big, vibrant bursts of energy and movement, and then downtime, you know? And Perpetual Motion class is asking you to infuse that downtime with even more movement. And it's pretty relaxed movement, it's pretty chill movement, but it's still movement. So you should be proud all the time. You should absolutely be proud, okay? Because you're doing a great job. Okay. Last one, last set, and then, well, you know what happens next. All right. Okay. Now that I got my evil chuckling out of the way, let's see here. I want us to do some flying chickens, because you know how much I love flying chickens. So feet together, thumbs at chest height. If you wear a bra, you can hook your thumbs behind your bra straps. Out in, out in, out in, out in. So the feet come apart in the air and then land right back together in the center. And the elbows are just flapping up and down. Alrighty. Second exercise is going to be just a held bridge, okay? So 2 ways to do this. You can have your feet flat on the floor, heels pretty close to your butt, and just bridge up and hold that position, okay? So that's one way. If you want to go for something a little more intense, you can same foot position, hands flat on the ground with the fingertips pointing down towards your body, and push up into the bridge and hold right there. All right, so flying chickens and bridges. What was the third thing I was going to do? Let's do side-to-side planks, because we love getting that nice shoulder engagement in. So from that front plank position, let the heels drop over to the side, come up onto one arm, other arm straight up to the ceiling. Hold there for a second, let the judges see it, then back through the front plank and to the other side. And we just go back and forth like that. All right. So, flying chickens, bridges, and side-to-side planks. All right. Everybody is feeling good on their mats, ready to transition from one jump to another. And remember, for our flying chickens, I don't have a ton of form notes, but I always do remind you to engage that core, especially for this. You know, we've got our limbs moving in a lot of directions, and having that core engagement just helps to snap them all back to center more easily. All right, and now we do our bridge, whichever one you choose to do. Again, doesn't matter to me, whichever one you feel like you can maintain, okay? And that's the big thing, right? When I give you modifications for an exercise, I always intend for you to use them if you want to, all right? I'm not like playing weird mind games here, being like, oh, you know, you can do these modifications, but if you do, you know, you lose that perpetual motion class or something like that. Like, that's not how I teach, first of all. Second of all, it would be a pretty silly approach because I can't see you. So, you know, does me no good to teach like that, because whether you're doing a modification or not, I don't know. But that is not how I teach. Even if we were doing this in person, I always want you to do the version of the exercise that feels safe and manageable to you, okay? So never let anyone tell you differently. Never let anybody browbeat or bully you into doing something that you don't feel ready for, okay? There is too much of that in our fitness culture, and it's one of the things that I hate the most, because, you know, the bullying culture and approach to teaching physical fitness is what drives so many people away from exercise and away from connections with their bodies. And that's just tragic. So as we finish out our final set, knowing that we do have to go back into cross jacks, but super briefly until I can set up calf awareness, I want you all to remember that it is your body and your journey. You know it better than I ever will. You know its needs. You know its injury profile. And you know if you are ready for something or not, okay? And there's a gray area between when we are truly not ready for something and when our brain is still scared, even though we have the overall capacity. But, you know, that is something we can talk about. That is something we can train towards. But it starts with trusting yourself and trusting your relationship to your body. And if you start there, then no matter where you go on your fitness journey, you are going to do absolutely fine. All right, back to those cross jacks. I promise, only long enough for me to set up the timer, and we are going to do, oh yeah, you know it, you guessed it, calf awareness. So as soon as you hear the timer, I want you to just balance flat on one foot. All right, we're going to start with just calming and centering, okay? So you no longer need to really heavily be engaging your cardiovascular system. You no longer have to worry about rests that are still active. You are here and you are present, and you just want to hold this balance, and you want to be able to breathe, okay? So start there. Deepen your breath, and that will help to bring your heart rate down, because your heart will go, oh, cool. There's a much more controlled stream of oxygen coming through. All right, other foot. That must mean that we don't need to be moving the oxygen quite as quickly through the rest of the body, okay? Now we focus in on the balance. So we want to give the foot and ankle every assistance that we can as they manage the balance micro adjustments. So we are going to start with all the stabilizing muscle groups, starting with the core, bringing our torso under control, then the glutes on the standing leg, and then the quads. So basically everything from the knee up is one cohesive unit, okay? Now when the timer goes off again, we're going to go back to that first foot, but now we are going to balance on the ball of the foot. So we are ramping up the challenge rating, my friends. Here we go. Yeah. So everything that I talked about on that first side still applies. However, I recognize that this is a much more difficult balance to maintain, okay? So if you're coming out of the balance and need to reset, that's fine. Obviously you can see that I have to do that too. So what I want you to do when you feel like you are going to fall out of the balance is don't let yourself just collapse, okay? If you're like, all right, I really don't think I can hold that, bring the heel down deliberately and then reset and give it another go, okay? And that way you're still really getting that work in the calf. All right, other side. Now, you may notice one side is better at balancing than the other. That's totally normal. You may also notice that whatever surface you're on is a little harder for balance than you might be used to. So I use these giant puzzle pieces that are at least an inch thick, and they make it really hard to balance because they are deliberately flexible. So I'm not on a smooth surface, a straight surface, okay? So that's something I always have to keep in mind as I'm balancing. All right, now, when we go back to the first side, we want to, now we're doing a movement between rocking up onto the ball of the foot and then rocking back onto the heel of the foot, okay? So it's from a balance to a constant motion. So it looks like this. We're still on just one foot, up on the ball, back on the heel. Up on the ball, back on the heel. And we just go back and forth. You can let your butt sort of stick out behind you as you rock back on the heel. That's totally fine. Check in on those stabilizers. Remember back in the first section of this when I told you that you wanted to engage all those stabilizing muscle groups? Well, it's still true, okay? So particularly the core is gonna really help you out. So believe me, I leave it behind all the time. I forget all the time. So check in, see if that core is still engaged, and re-engage it. All right, other side. Same thing, up on the ball, back on the heel. Up on the ball, back on the heel. And just going back and forth. Now, one thing that can help us with anything balance related, especially something like this where there's a movement element that throws us off, is finding a single point out ahead of you to focus your eyes on, okay? So find a spot on the floor and just focus on that, and that'll help you maintain the balance. Now, last exercise coming up, both feet on the floor, rock back onto the heels, and we keep those toes off the ground until the timer ends, all right? Okay, here we are. So we want to hold that balance as long as we can. If you feel like you're gonna fall out, just shuffle around on your heels a little bit, all right? Keeping that core engaged. Again, you can let your pelvis, your butt come out behind you if you need to. We don't just need to maintain perfect up and down position, but we do need to keep our toes off the ground, no matter what. All right, we're about halfway through, and we're trying to hold that balance. Hold that balance. Beautiful. And you're breathing, of course, because we remember how important that is. And you're checking in on your core to see if it's engaged. Make sure that it's helping out the exercise. And you're shuffling around when you need to. And then you're holding the balance when you need to. And you are so close. Yeah. Woohoo! Oh my goodness. Good job, everybody. Whew. I do always recommend doing some calf stretches after that. Strangely enough, the thing called calf awareness is a little intense on our calves. Oh, my friends, what a great class. Holy crap. Wow, it appears to be precipitating again in some form or fashion. I can't quite tell if it's snow or rain, but all right. We'll see what tomorrow brings. What a great class. What a great class. I know Tuesdays are an intense one. Tuesdays require a lot of focus and a much more continuous stream of energy that still gets punctuated by these peaks and valleys, right? It's just that the valley never gets to go as far down as it does in our other classes when we're able to just like stop and chill. So anyone who takes this class, I think, just deserves the biggest pat on the back because it is an intense class, and I wasn't even, it's an intense class, just full stop. And I wasn't maintaining the cross jacks for the entire time in between. So you should be so proud of yourselves, all right? You rocked it. You came in here on Tuesday afternoon. We're at the beginning of our week. We're feeling, we're just feeling that feeling of, all right, we're moving through the week. What is the week going to throw at us? And you know what? You came here and you did an amazing class, and I am super proud of you. And I hope you had fun.
I certainly did. So hopefully you did as well. But do make sure you're drinking plenty of water, okay? And make sure that as soon as this is empty, that you go and refill it. Woot indeed. How are your calves? Yes, hydration. Hydration, just so important. For some reason, we're so bad at it. I don't get it. It's like, it's an actual, important thing for us to continue living. And it is so helpful, and yet we adult humans are so bad at it. Remembering to hydrate. I will ask you again tomorrow, because I know where you'll be for at least an hour and a half of that time. Yeah, so oh man, what a great class. I'm feeling really energized. I am feeling really good about the start of this week. And I hope that you are too. And I hope that, I know I talk a lot about perfect being the enemy of good, but I think it's really important to remind ourselves of that fact. And I know how easy it is to be so super critical of ourselves, and to give support and understanding to others that we never afford to ourselves, which is just, it's amazing. It's amazing the capacity that we have for that. Like, I say things to myself that I would never say to anybody else. I hold expectations for myself that I would never, ever hold other people to. Yeah, it's important to have that external voice who reminds us that we're doing an awesome job. If we're working and we are trying, we're doing an awesome job. And now I really just want a good shower. And see, that's half of the fun of exercise, is getting to take the post-workout shower and be like, okay, yeah, and then keep hydrating ourselves and get some good food in. That's I think a big draw, and you know what? That is totally fine. We've got 3 more classes left this week. Tomorrow, Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time is Jump Around, our weekly cardio class. Friday at 6 p.m. is Functional Home Fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around the house. And then Saturday morning at 9 a.m. is the weekend kickoff, which is our awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class, frequently punctuated by toe squats, because I love them. So definitely come join for any or all of those classes. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All of those handles will be in my end cards, but they are all variations on Blanche Case Fitness. My YouTube channel is where I upload all of the VODs from these streams, so you never have to miss a class, even if you can't make the live cast. So definitely head over to Blanche Case Fitness on YouTube and subscribe. If you want to help support me financially in making these streams, I do have a coffee account for one-time donations at Blanche Case Fitness. Your donations are always very much appreciated. And we're Twitch affiliate now, so you can subscribe to this channel if you want to be able to support in an ongoing fashion. And if you want to help keep growing this channel, keep coming back for awesome exercise, then please do follow or subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your loved ones, your coworkers, anyone looking for an awesome class. I stream 4 days a week. I'm thinking about adding a 5th day. Probably not this month, but maybe next month, depending on how my scheduling looks. We have a great community here. We take care of each other. We have good workouts. We talk about weird, nerdy shit. We talk about important life shit. And we talk about big societal justice shit. So please do keep coming by, keep hanging out, hang out in the chat, even if you're not able to work out. We have a fun time here. All right. And now make sure that you're hydrating. Make sure that you're replenishing those fuel stores, especially if you plan on coming to class tomorrow. Very important to get some food, get a good shower, enjoy whatever else you have going on, and I will see you back here tomorrow night. Mwah. Have a great night.